So many network marketers fall in love with a health and wellness product, and then they realize that there's an incredible opportunity to build the lifestyle and income of their dreams. But what happens when you get started and you run out of friends and family to talk to, and what you're doing on social media just isn't quite getting you where you want to be? Well, the truth is, it's probably not your fault. It just takes a little marketing know-how that you may not be getting from anywhere else. So on this podcast, I'm sharing with you the secrets that I've been able to learn from all of my top earner friends and mentors. I'm pulling back the curtain on exactly what it takes to get people excited about the wellness products that you have to offer, to help people improve their lives, and to get you to the rank that you want to be at. My name is Soraya Goddard, and this is Secrets to Marketing Your Wellness MLM. Hey everyone, what's going on? I know it's been a while since I have published an episode. I want to catch you up to speed on what I've been doing, share with you some thoughts and some things I've learned over the last couple weeks since we last chatted, and then talk about how you can get into your prospect's head and read their minds. Secret tips on how you can anticipate exactly what they might be thinking. I know, too good to be true, right? But it's actually really, really simple. And I want to share with you some things that I've been messing around with in hopes that it might help you too. So, last time we chatted, I was, on like a whirlwind travel tour. So I was in Florida for a while at the Top Earner Club Mastermind Retreat, where I was with Ray Higdon and a bunch of other awesome freaking people, just some amazing human beings that I love so much, and got to spend 4 days with all of them at beautiful Naples. It was in the Naples Beach Hotel, I think is what it was called. Anyways, a gorgeous resort. And we, anytime you get in a room with people of that caliber, seven-figure earners, multiple million-dollar earners per year, just incredible human beings, as well as people who are on their way, and I would put myself in that category, on their way to their goal life and dreams and their goal team size, then, magic happens. All of us just care so deeply for each other, and we're all in different companies, and we all just share ideas and learn from each other. So it's phenomenal. Then I left that. I came home here to Washington, D.C. I was home for like 12 hours. Then I got on a plane and went to my company convention. So I was absolutely exhausted by the time I got there, but I had a blast, had a complete blast, was there for almost a week. And of course, met up with lots of teammates and just, I can't even tell you all the details. Had a ton of fun. I'll just leave it at that. We had some great business training, incredible new products, incredible experience. It's always fun to connect with people who you don't get to see, but once a year in person. So that was fantastic. I came home, was home for like another 12 hours, and then had to go right back to work. So by the time those 2-3 weeks were over, I was just exhausted. It took me almost a week to just recover from all of that. And not that it was like super long distance traveling, but it was one of those things where it was about 2 weeks of just going full speed, surrounded by people, having conversations, using my brain, thinking, walking miles a day. It was just intense in every way possible, in a good way though. And so, it's funny, as I get older, I become more introverted. I used to be extremely, extremely extroverted, meaning that I used to not require a whole lot of downtime, and being around a lot of people would recharge me and recharge my energy. And I'm finding that as I get older, that isn't the case anymore, that I need much more alone time to recharge. And so for those couple of weeks, I didn't get much alone time. And so I'll tell you, it was really hard to get on here at the microphone and try to record a podcast when I felt just absolutely drained. And so if you're out there and you are in a space where you want to do Facebook Lives, or maybe you want to start your own podcast, or maybe you just want to have the energy to get out and talk to people and invite them to your presentation, know that other people go through those same struggles too when you don't feel like you're in a space that you can do that. But you can definitely take a little time to recharge, whatever you need to recharge with, and get right back out there and do it, which is what I am trying to do right now. So back in the saddle, when I got back to work, I was in a position where I had just a couple weeks to transition to a very new important job that I have been working hard to get for a long time. And I won't bore you with all the details, but it's basically a really, really important job and kind of a benchmark job in my career. So, super honored and excited to get to that point. But, having a day job while you're also building your side empire is always challenging. And I have found that my challenges come in ebbs and flows. I have less resistance, and sometimes things are just really easy to work all in together, meaning that I have enough time in the evenings and I can get what I need to done, and I'm cranking, and social media is all great and podcast is great, or whatever I'm working on at the time is going really well. And then I have moments where it's just resistance, and some of that is in my head. Some of that is just because I let my time management get away from me. Some of that is because I'm not physically rested. Sometimes it's a combination of all of those. But I'm back in my routine. And that to me is extremely, extremely important. And I have found that when I am in my routine, I am in peak production. And by in my routine, I mean getting good sleep, working out, drinking lots of water, eating healthy food. And that is just the bedrock for success for me. Good mindset, getting my personal development done, and getting my prospecting and marketing done according to a schedule every day. Now, it's not hours and hours of each per day because I don't have that much time, but it's making sure that when I do sit down to do social media and responding to social media requests and posts and things like that, or prospecting people and following up with people who have responded to my social media posts, that I am doing that with consistency and I am showing up and putting a concerted effort, maybe a half hour, 45 minutes per day, something like that, maybe an hour and a half per day, whatever it is that I'm consistent. And thankfully, I'm back in consistency. So it was a longer road back to that consistency over the past couple of weeks than I would have liked, but that's okay because I I subscribe to basically the philosophy that I learned from Ray Higdon. And he says, look, I am not always, I'm paraphrasing and I'm sure I'm going to screw this all up, but he says, I always have production days. Some are high production, some are low production, but there is always some production. And so I try to keep that in mind, and that it's not okay to have a day where you do nothing, but it's definitely okay to have a day where you just do a little bit and then get right back in the saddle as soon as possible. So I hope that helps some of you guys who might be struggling to find time in your day. I also find it helpful not to beat myself up if I don't get everything that I want to accomplish. I know sometimes, especially if you're like me and you're type A and you want to get all the things done every single day, and you have an unrealistic to-do list of about 75 things that you're not going to get through, but you only get through 20 of them, and then you beat yourself up for not getting the rest done. And it's like, hey, why didn't you celebrate the fact that you had 20 things that you checked off your list today? I am terrible at that. So I try to remind myself every single day that I am grateful for the things that I do accomplish. I'm grateful for the forward momentum. And look, I I should say I've learned, but I still learn every single day that consistency is key. Consistency is king. Consistency is the way ahead. Forward momentum is everything. So just a little bit every single day of very deliberate effort will add up. What I have tried in the past that I can tell you has not worked for me is basically doing nothing and saving it all till one day a week and then trying to get all the things done. Like that just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I don't know why it doesn't work. But consistency does work. So a little bit a day, it works very well. Okay. So, but back to really what I wanted this podcast episode to be about. I have been learning a lot of stuff, and I don't really feel like I learn anything until I apply it and see success with it. Theory and learning theory academically and in your head is different than learning by actually doing. So I've been testing how to get into my prospects' heads and read their minds. Sounds crazy. Here's what I mean by that. When you're having a conversation with someone who is a prospect, whether they are a super hot prospect that you know and you've had a conversation with them before, or maybe they're just a cold prospect that you met at the grocery store or something like that. Here's an exercise that has helped me and I think might help you next time you encounter a discussion with someone and you want to give them information that will make it just a little bit easier for them to positively think about your product or opportunity. And really, for most of you, we're talking product. Product is the easiest to talk about. Um, yeah, I think it's the easiest to talk about. If you are talking business or opportunity, that's amazing. Definitely do not be scared of that. But for most of you, you're going to be talking product benefits. So here's what I want you to think about. What are the false beliefs that a new prospect might have about your product? What are the false beliefs that a new prospect might have about your product? What I mean by that is that what are the things that you know are not true about your product or maybe your company or the experience that they should be having with your product that you know are not true, but they think are? I want you to think about those. And let me just give you some examples of what might be the case. Maybe someone is going to think that your product isn't going to work for them for whatever reason. It isn't going to work for me, right? Nope. Oh, that might work for all the other people, but it's not going to work for me. Or it isn't for people like them. They think, oh, well, that's good for old people, but not young people. Or that's good for boys and not girls, or whatever. What are those false beliefs? Is it that they think that your product isn't, or maybe it's too expensive, or that it's too hard to use, or that it's too hard to understand, or any one of a million things that a prospect might be thinking about your product? What are those things? I would challenge you to get out a piece of paper, maybe even pause this podcast or listen to the podcast all the way through, then go back and go through this exercise. Get a pen and paper and think about the false beliefs that a prospect might have about your product. Literally write them out on a piece of paper. What are those things? What are the things that you thought about your product before you got into your company? What are the things that you were like, that's weird. Okay, I might give it a chance, but that's a little odd. Or, I'm not sure if that's going to work. Or, I'm not sure if that's for me. What are those things? Maybe you even go and talk to people who are leaders in your team and think about the objections and the false beliefs that they had before they joined. Once you have a list of those, then I think it's a great start point to start thinking of stories that combat those false beliefs. So let me give you an example. If you have a common objection or a common false belief that a product doesn't work, let's just say for men, right? Let's say your product is generally marketed towards women, and a lot of health products are. So let's say you talk to a man and for whatever reason, you know that when you talk to men, they think that the product isn't for them, right? That's a false belief because the product is for them. It will work for them. So you've identified the false belief that a man might not think the product will work for them for whatever reason. Then what is a corresponding story that you can tuck in your back pocket and save for a moment where you're talking to a man and you can share that story about how it is not true? So maybe it's a story about how a man who you know had great success with your product, or multiple men you know had great success with your product, or maybe a man who also didn't think that the product was going to work for them, but it completely worked and revolutionized their whole, energy, their life, changed everything about them. Think of a story that combats that false belief. And then what I would do is on the piece of paper next to the false belief, write down a couple stories. Think of them. Actually think of them, the exact story, what the results were, what the transformation was at the end of the results, all those types of things, so that you can basically tuck that piece of paper in a binder or a day planner or write it out on your iPhone or whatever it is, wherever you keep notes, and study that to the point where the next time that you're talking to a man, then you go, you just kind of insert that story. Hey, I don't know if this is something that you might be open to, but I have a friend named Tim. I was talking to him about blah, blah, blah product that I have, and he really didn't think it was for him, but he tried it. He got these results. And the best part is that it completely transformed his life. And now he's able to XYZ, right? Something like that. So once you have a list of all the false beliefs that a new prospect might have about your product and then stories that combat those false beliefs, here's what you can do. So not only can you use those in conversations, but then those are stories that are great jumping off points for kind of marketing ideas, right? Now, some of them might be testimonials, and some of you are thinking, I already post testimonials. Absolutely, that's fantastic. But sometimes the more subtle approach really, really works, right? Whether that be in written marketing, maybe Facebook or Instagram, or, you're writing that out somewhere, or just talking to somebody about life, and an opportunity pops up, right? Now you have something, just a subtle thing where you can say, hey, you know what? You remind me of a friend of mine that I have been helping with his energy or his skin or whatever, whatever the result, the benefit of your product is. And, you guys remind me of each other. And I don't know if you've ever considered, blah, 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 blah. I'm not saying this very eloquently, but it can be a very subtle jumping off point for conversations, or again, social media posts, or any one of a number of things, right? They're just really handy to have around. I have found that since I went through this exercise and since I identified all the false beliefs about my product, that it is very easy for me to go back into kind of my mental Rolodex. I guess I'm dating myself, mental Dropbox, mental Google Drive. Anyways, and pull out those stories and have them ready at a moment's notice. And I promise you, if you think about that, you're also going to be thinking more like your prospect. Let me back up a second. So I've talked about this before, but sometimes we have the curse of knowledge, the curse of knowledge. And that means that you're so deep into your product and your company culture and all the amazing benefits. Like you're drinking the Kool-Aid already, right? And if you're not, you should be, because you should be with a company where you love the product, right? So if you're loving your product and you've been using it for any amount of time, there's some things that you have picked up on. Maybe it's some techno babble, maybe it's just some things that you already understand and you forget that new people don't understand. That's called the curse of knowledge. So I can think of pretty much every health and wellness company has this. I can't think of an exception, to be honest. I don't care if it's skincare or weight loss or essential oils or anything, right? We all have the curse of knowledge in our companies where you know the ingredients, but when you started, you didn't know the ingredients because you didn't need to know the ingredients, right? All you needed to know is it was going to give you a benefit, or you trusted someone who was already in who told you that it was going to give you the benefit, right? So, unfortunately, what we do is when we understand all this knowledge, we understand the technobabble, we understand the ingredients, we understand all the scientific stuff that isn't required or necessary to have a conversation with a product about, we start spewing all this stuff thinking that they make rational decisions, but really we don't make rational decisions. We make emotional decisions and then we justify them after the fact with facts. That is true for any purchase. That dress you wanted, you didn't rationalize it logically, right? You bought it emotionally, and then after the fact, you rationalized it with whatever logic that you came up with. Same with cars, shoes, whatever your product is, etc. Basically anything. You buy it emotionally, and then you rationalize it logically after the fact. And so when we have the curse of knowledge, we forget that our prospect that we're talking to might have a bunch of objections that we've forgotten about. Like so long ago, you joined years ago, you joined months ago, you joined weeks ago, you've forgotten about those objections now because you're in it to win it and you love the product and it is incredible. But I want you to put yourself back in the mindset of someone who has no idea what the heck you're talking about, right? You stop with the company lingo, stop with the company specific names, and just talk to them as if you were starting on day one. Another really good way to get into your prospect's head and read their minds is to pretend like you are back in your first week of the company. What did you feel like? What were the questions that you had? What were the things that you wanted to know about? This also comes in handy when you're bringing up new business builders. Every once in a while, someone will ask me a question and I'm like, oh man, I totally forgot about that. I just assumed that you knew it, or it didn't even dawn on me that you didn't know that because I wasn't thinking about it, right? It's the same thing. So I think it's worth just spending a little bit of time to sit and write all these out, write the false beliefs out, write out the stories that combat that false belief, and then use those stories. Lead with stories. Stories sell, guys. Stories are the way to people's hearts. Stories are the way to people's emotions. The more stories you can tell, whether they're about you or somebody else in the company, somebody else on your team, it does not matter. Some lady you met at convention, someone who you saw on social media, tell stories, and tell stories to your prospects. That is what's going to intrigue them and going to, encourage them to want to learn more or to buy your product. So I hope that helps. I know that, we are not in the business of convincing, but when you share those stories, those prospects will come to their own independent conclusion and they will convince themselves that they need your product because they'll think to themselves, well, if it worked for someone like me, then it should work for me, right? And they'll convince themselves. So you don't have to convince anybody. And that is the best way to get a new teammate on board, to get someone interested in your product where they're convincing themselves. You basically know what they're thinking. You can read their mind ahead of time and you're just offering them a little story so that they do all the convincing. You don't have to. And that is amazing. Okay, guys, hope that helped. I will be publishing more podcasts more often. I promise that. And if you guys enjoyed it, I'd love to connect with you on social media. Find me on Instagram at Soraya Goddard and direct message me and let me know what you thought of the episode. Talk to you guys later. Bye. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed Secrets to Marketing Your Wellness MLM. Before you go though, I have something for you. If you are looking to grow your audience online via social media so that you can have people getting excited about your products and reaching out to you to learn more, then you need my cheat sheet that has 50 health and wellness Facebook Live topics that will attract an audience to you. It also walks you through the secret 4-part formula that you can follow on both Facebook and Instagram that is proven to have people reaching out to you. And when you get it, I am also sending you guys an audio file for those of you who love to listen to the information on the go. You can get both of those things at www.sorayagoddard.com/podcast. Again, that's sorayagoddard.com/podcast. SORAYAGODDARD.com/podcast. Thanks so much. Chat soon.